All right. Thank you, YouTube, for making um, this time possible. This is Mike Killian of the Navigator Prophetic Ministry, and I'm coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina. And today, I am making my very second YouTube um, video. It's about time that I have learned how to use YouTube, but I have a very important message for you today. It's about the identity of true Israel and the marks of true Israel in the earth. And it's based on the idea that if you had a child and you sent them to school and they sat in front, they sat for a class picture, and then that picture was sent home to the parents, and you saw that class picture, what was the first thing you would look for? You would look for your child out of that class of 25 or 30 people. And so, why would you do that? First of all, you love your child. Second of all, you have an interest in that child. And third of all, you could recognize that child by its features. Well, Israel of the Bible, that is the called out people of God, have certain distinguished, and that's why I'm calling this lesson the marks of true Israel. Will the true chosen people please stand up? This has to do with the identity of true Israel, and the reason that I'm bringing it up is because there must be an antithesis to that, and that is that there is a false Israel in the world today, and it is deceiving. It is deceiving the masses. Okay, and that would be the modern political Zionist state, who say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. So I call it the Middle East Masquerade Party. They say they are Jews and are not. So we're going to go through about 16 different distinguishing marks that God says, these are my people. Who are my people? What do they look like? What do they do? What are the characteristics of them? And that way, we will know what to look for. And the another subtitle for this message is, where is the United States in prophecy? Okay, where is the United States in prophecy? These answers came to me when I was asking questions. I've spent 45 years asking questions of God, and He has answered. And so one day I was reading a message, some historical message about God's people, something in the New Testament era, and I just got curious. God gives me the gift of curiosity. And so I asked a question: who is the true Israel of God today? And where is the United States in prophecy? And that started on a nice 30 to 35 year study. And so I'm going to bring you the um, the uh, the results of that study right here and right now. So sit back and enjoy. If you've got an access book, you can do this. I will quote the scriptures. I will not read all the scriptures through, because if you are an avid student of the Bible like me, you'll know that what I'm saying is in the Bible. Okay? Then you can write them down and go read them later on when you have some free time. Okay? So these are not all in one place in the Bible, they're scattered. And this is why it takes a revelation. Okay? It takes a revelation to learn this. The identity of true Israel, God said in Romans 11, I believe it was, He said that Israel would be blinded in part until the full number of the Gentiles comes in. He said they would be blind to their identity as to who they are, and that is true. The true Israel of God doesn't know that they are the Israel of God today, and this is why we look at the modern political state of Israel, which is based on the Kabbalah and the Torah, or the traditions of the elders, and the Kabbalah is an evil book. And so we look at them and we say that they are the chosen people of God. So we are misidentifying who true Israel is today. But there is true marks of who Israel is today. I've got them right here. There's 16 of them. And by the end, you will see how obvious it is that we have been misidentifying who the real Israel of God is. Okay, now, I hope that this is going to be the first of many studies. Okay, I've got all kinds of journals. I want to show you. I want to take this and I want to show you that stack of journals right there. Can you see that? That's not all of my journals that I have accumulated over 40 years. I've got another stack over on my credenza over there with another stack about that tall. Okay, and that is the accumulation of my studies, all for the last 45 years. So let's begin. And as I read these, you are going to say, "Why didn't I see that? Why didn't I see that? Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!" And you're going to see that these marks cannot be applied to the modern political Zionist state of Israel, or Jews that say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And that's another story for another day, because they are not descended from the actual southern kingdom of Judah. But that's another study for another day. First of all, the first obvious mark of true Israel, which is God's called out people. Israel was a called out people. The people, the Hebrews, they were, first of all, they were a mixed multitude from the beginning, so we cannot say that it is a race of people. If you, or even a nationality, we cannot say it's just one type of people, one race, or one religion, because when they came out of Egypt, it was a mixed multitude. And there has been centuries and centuries and centuries of 5,000 years of intermarrying. Okay, so the first mark of Israel is going to be so easy to understand. God's people, number one, will be under the new covenant. How easy is that to understand? They will be under the new covenant. And it says in Jeremiah 31 through 34, that I will put a new law in your heart and I will write it upon your heart. Okay? So that talks about there's going to be a new covenant, not the old covenant of Judaism, which God through Jesus in Matthew, in all of the ministry of Jesus, he condemned the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and their traditions of the elders. Okay, he said, "I did not come to destroy the law, but I came to fulfill it." Okay, and when that veil rent from the top to the bottom in the tabernacle, when he died, well, I don't remember exactly when that took place, but it meant I think it was during the it had maybe the day of Pentecost. I have to look that up. When exactly did the veil rent? Was it at his death and burial and resurrection, or was it on the day of Pentecost, or was it during the siege of Jerusalem? I'll have to look that up. But anyway, they have to be under the new covenant. But what do the Jews today, the political Zionist Jews today, want to do? Is they want to recreate the old Jewish system, and they want to find out who the priests are. They say we know who the Cohens are. We know who the Levites are. We've even now bred a red heifer, and we're getting ready to do sacrifices. And Jesus said that stuff is not acceptable anymore. The tabernacle of God is with men. It's in men's hearts. Know ye not, you are the temple. So he pronounced the end of that system. Okay? So God's true Israel is under the new covenant. Second of all, Israel is to have a new name. And in Isaiah 62:2, I've got that right here, 62:2. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory, and thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. And thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of God. Now, can that be applied to the modern state of Israel? Okay, that cannot be. Now you got to ask yourself, who on the earth is fulfilling these? And then when you look at the geopolitical realm, who actually of the nations are exhibiting these marks of Israel? Okay, so they will have a new name and they will be under a new covenant. Israel is to fulfill the Abrahamic covenant. That means that they are to be a great and mighty nation and a company of nations. Ask yourself if this is applicable to modern day Israel. And to have multitudinous seed. In other words, the seed of Abraham is to be like the stars of the sky and the sands on the seashore. Innumerable. You can't count them. But if you look at the Jewish community right now, they take a census and they come up with a pretty good estimate of how many there are. And it is not, you can count the number of Jews in the world today. This is covered in Genesis 12:2, Genesis 18:18, Deuteronomy 4:7-8, Zechariah 10:7 and 8, Hosea 1:10, Isaiah 10:22, Genesis 49:22, Genesis 32:12, and Genesis 28:3-14. Okay. I want to go through that one last. True Israel will be blinded in part to their identity while in exile, but will learn who they are in the last days. This is found in Romans 11. Okay. True Israel will be called my witnesses. That's in Isaiah 43:10. The modern political state of Zionist state right now is not the witnesses for Jesus Christ. Duh. That disqualifies them right there. They cannot be a part of God's true Israel because they don't recognize Jesus. Okay? And then I ask you, which nations of the earth can be called Christian nations? And which one is the prime nation of all Christian nations? The ones that have covered the earth with Bibles and Christian radio and Christian television, and now the Christian on Christian social media, people witnessing for the Lord. Who's done that? Who can we call God's witnesses? Certainly not the Jew. The Jew is not his witness. Okay? They're a witness for political Zionism and Judaism, which God condemned. All right. I'm going to come back to Isaiah 60 because that's the clincher. Israel shall possess the gates of the world. That's in Genesis 22:17. And at one time, the United States used to police the canals of the world, okay, and keep them open for trade. It says here that Israel shall be God's battle axe and weapons of war. God's battle axe. God's battle axe, okay? Fighting for what? Virtue. That's in Jeremiah 51:20. Thou shalt be my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break the nations. Okay? If you want to read the rest of Isaiah 51, it goes on to say that basically the nation of Israel will be a great military power, and it will keep the peace in the earth, and it will fight for righteousness, and it will defend the weak. Now, can we actually say that about the modern political state of Israel? Not applicable at all. Israel is to have a new home, and it is to be northwest of Palestine. It's not in Palestine anymore. That's in Isaiah 49:12 and Jeremiah 3:18. It's supposed to have a new home. Israel is to colonize and spread abroad. The modern political state of Israel hasn't done that. Okay? That's in Genesis 28:14, Genesis 49:22, Psalm 2:8, Isaiah 26:15, and Zechariah 10:8 and 9. Israel is to colonize the desolate places of the earth. And how about outer space? Okay? Has the modern state of Israel been to the moon? Has the modern state of Israel been to Mars? Okay. The United States used to be a desolate wilderness. Okay. The area above the Roman Empire in the Central Europe used to be called, on the ancient maps, it used to be called the wilderness. Okay, and that's where Europe became Christian. Yes, it was Christian under Catholicism, but that is where the Christians were dispersed to before 66 and 70 A.D., when Jesus said, when you see the abomination of desolation standing in a holy place where it should not be, flee to the mountains and don't look back. Well, they went in the northwest direction into Europe. They went to all four directions, but the mass majority of believing Christians went into Europe, and that's why Europe is basically Christian, even though it's under Catholicism. You still got good Christians there. And now look what's happening to it. It's being taken over by Islam. Okay. They are to colonize the desolate places of the earth. That's in Isaiah 35:1, Isaiah 43:19 and 20, Isaiah 49:8, Isaiah 54:3, and Isaiah 58:11 and 12. Israel is to be first among the nations. You'll connect with that when we read from Isaiah 60. First amongst the nations, that's going to be in Genesis 27:29, chapter 28:13, and Jeremiah 31:7. Okay, Israel is to continue as a nation forever. Well, that's in 2 Samuel 7:16, verse 24 and verse 29, 1 Chronicles 17:22 through 27, and Jeremiah 31:35 through 37. This cannot be applied to the state of Israel or the Jewish nation. It was destroyed in 66 to 70 AD, and when Jesus spoke to the fig tree, he cursed it. And you know, that is the tree that everybody says represents the Jews. And what did he say to that fig tree? He says, "You will never bear fruit again." Okay? All right. Now, Israel, true Israel, is also going to be God's instrument in destroying evil. We look at Jeremiah 51:20. You shall be my battle axe and weapons of war. And then we look in Daniel 2:34 and 35. It is the stone kingdom, or the stone mountain, the stone that hits the image that brings all the nations down, the Babylonian succession of kingdoms that is based on satanic worship. That's Christianity that's going to do that, not Judaism. Okay? The stone kingdom in Daniel 2 is not Judaism, it is Christianity. Jesus was the stone that the builders rejected, and the revelation that Jesus is the Christ is the rock of revelation that Peter was to carry. Okay? Then, here's the one that really disqualifies Israel. God's Israel is to be envied, feared, and feared of all nations. Does anybody fear Israel today? No. Who do they fear? They fear us, the United States. They once feared Great Britain. Together, the United States and Great Britain were the first to have. They rose into prominence practically together in the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s and 1900s. I mean, together. Britain was fighting Nazi Germany before we were, and then we came and joined in, and we were an unbeatable team. If it wasn't for the United States, there would be, Europe would be Nazi by now. Okay, so that these are not applicable to the modern state of Israel or the Jewish community at all. But the big kicker is Isaiah 60. Listen to this. Just sit back. This is my closing statement as I read from Isaiah 60, and ask yourself, is this applicable to the modern state of Israel? Isaiah 60, verse 1. Arise and shine, for the light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people, but the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. As you look upon the nations right now, who are the ones that has the preeminence in almost everything? Economics, science, technology. Who is the pace setter in almost everything? Where did all the great inventions come out of? Okay. Militarily, economically, industrially. Who went to the moon? Who actually went to the moon? And to Mars. We've been going to Mars for decades. Do you know that? Okay. It says, verse 3, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light. The Gentiles will come to thy light. Are the Gentiles coming to modern day Israel? Are the Gentiles, or is it just Jews that they let in? I have a friend that is emigrating to Israel, and she has to jump through all kinds of hoops to prove that she is a Jew. And I mean, she has to have letters from her rabbi, okay? And she has to know what she's doing, even though she's a Christian, okay? So the nations are not coming to Zionist Israel. Lift up thine eyes round about and see all they gather themselves together. They come to thee. Thy sons shall come from afar. Yeah, yes, people are coming from afar to emigrate back to Israel, but they're Jewish. They're not the Gentiles. And thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and your heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the seas, that is the nations, shall be converted to you. Is the world trying to convert to Judaism, or are they trying to convert to Christianity? Where have the big outbreakings of the Holy Spirit taken place? The Holy Spirit does not inhabit Judaism today. Okay? Now, the forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. The multitude of camels shall cover thee. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of the Lord. Listen, before the United States rose up and became a free market Christian capitalism, there was nothing but darkness and tyranny and poverty. Okay? You had your super elite and you had your poor. And then through free market Christian capitalism, we created the middle class, where people could lift themselves out of the lower class. When it says that they shall bring their gold and their incense and show forth their praises, that means they want to do business with the United States. Why? Because traditionally our dollar has been strong. Who are they that fly as a cloud? That's verse 8. Where was the airplane invented? Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day or night. In the beginning, up until the abuse of American freedom recently, within the last 25, 30 years, we have always welcomed immigrants, okay? And we have provided them a path to citizenship. And our doors have always been open. We've never shut them down. We've never shut the doors. We've never had a quota. But now we have to build a wall. Why? Because people are taking advantage of our goodness, and they are trying to come in here illegally and take advantage of our resources, our jobs, and our welfare programs. Okay? So that is my message for today. The marks of true Israel. And where is the United States in prophecy? The United States is the only one that fits all 16 of these marks. Okay? And the Great Britain used to do it. There was a time when Britain was so prevalent in the earth. It says that the sun never set on the British Empire, and they took Christianity to the world too. So the United States and Great Britain had the first Bible societies and the first missionary societies. And we also had the United States also had the very first Christian radio and television, and Great Britain. So there's no other people on the earth that this fits than the United States. So if the United States is the true Israel, and Jesus cursed the fig tree and said, "You will never bear fruit again," how does that change your understanding of America's role in the earth, and how does that change your eschatology? Okay? All right, that's my message for today. I ask you to, if you can, forward it to your friends, and come and subscribe to my YouTube channel and also to my Facebook page. And I'm going to continue to do these. This is the first real teaching I've been doing on YouTube, so this is a very important day for me, because God has stored so much up in me for 45 years. I've always been challenged by technology, and so I found out that I had this capabilities on my telephone, um, and it was so easy. The only problem is I don't know how to turn this thing off. There's no icon there to show me where to turn this thing off. So I'm going to sign off now, and I'm going to fumble for a way to turn this off. Keep an eye out for more of these teachings. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.